Hey everyone, and welcome to another Game Explained discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Chuggaaconroy and MasaeAnela to discuss the reveal of Splatoon 2 for the Switch. So let's get started. Alright guys, you're two of the biggest Splatoon players I know. What was your reactions when you first saw that it's not a Splatoon Switch port, it is a true-blown sequel for Splatoon on the Switch? What about you, Masay?
I broke the sound barrier with my voice.
That's impressive. Did your parents come up and be like, what the heck's going on?
No, my mom at least was right there with me, and my dad's used to it, so.
You got them trained at this point. What about you, Emil?
My Let's Play was not in vain.
That is the important part, wasn't it? Because we were talking about this before we started recording, that it was like just a big sigh of relief for you that all this work you put into it, all of a sudden you didn't have to add a bunch of extra stuff. It's like, nope, clean slate.
Yeah, that was my biggest worry, was just that if it was a port, it would instantly make my videos obsolete, and I'd have to go and make a bunch of bonus videos detailing all the changes that were made. And I just really didn't want to do that. I wanted it to be able to stand on its own, and for this to be its own separate game. Not only for those reasons though, but also just personal reasons, because really a port would have been enough for a lot of people though, and they could have just left it at that though, but they didn't. They went the extra mile, and I'm happy they did.
Yeah, that's the general impression I got. It's just seeing all the new things they were doing with it, and I was only half being able to pay attention since you're doing the usual coverage that we do on directs and stuff. I can only kind of watch, but I was watching some of this stuff. It's like, oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. Just really reacting to a lot of things and noticing, right away, one of the big changes was seeing how the Splat roller, whenever you do a jumping attack, it does a vertical splash rather than the same horizontal splash. And it's like, that's such a cool change. It seems so tiny, but I can just see how it changes up the metagame so much.
I'm really excited about that. It's hard to tell whether that'll be an inherent buff, or if it'll nerf it a little bit in the way of how the weapon itself works. Because I feel with a widespread, in Splatoon 1, you don't have as much opportunity to miss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my general reaction to it, because I know a lot of people that like the golden roller,
golden dynamo,
golden dynamo. People love that one. It's slow, but because of that horizontal attack when you're in the air, you could just take somebody out in just one good shot.
Yep.
So
yep.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how players adjust to just even that small change. But it's a sequel. It is not a port at all. And what were you hoping for from the game before you even knew it? Were you shocked that they showed it? I guess you can't be shocked that they showed it off, but were you shocked that it was a sequel and not just a port?
I was very excited. I don't know if I'd say I was surprised, because Splatoon 1, even though it's a really, really solid game, was it not very low budget in the grand scheme of things? It was kind of a test run?
Yeah, it was. It was that Nintendo, I think their sales expectations for it were 250,000 copies or something like that. They didn't think too terribly highly of it, and it was also, it was originally going to be a Mario sports game, and I think when they went in a new direction, it caused them to lose a lot of their budget.
Oh, wow.
Exactly, and it's at that point, it's I'd imagine they'd take that concept and put everything that they can to it after the mass success of Splatoon. Because if it exceeded all of their expectations, then they would want to make something new with it. So I'm not sure if I'd say I was surprised.
I was very relieved to see that this is going to this might be a thing where we just get every console generation from this point going forward.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think it's great that not only is it a sequel though, but it's a sequel available so early in the system's lifespan. I think people are really
That's what surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are really underselling the fact that what the Nintendo Switch's starting lineup is though, because even though, yeah, it's just Breath of the Wild and a couple other games on launch day, you weren't going to play anything other than Breath of the Wild for the first few weeks it was out. And we're only short a Pikmin sequel and a Super Smash Bros. Sequel for the first 3 years of the Wii U to be concentrated in the first 8 months of the Switch. That's a huge deal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, everybody's looking at just the launch of the Switch, which, the launch isn't too huge, but there are a lot of games becoming more available. I think we're up to 10 launch titles now, which, that's steadily rising. But again, as you said, most people are going to be playing Zelda, whether it's on Wii U or Switch. I think people are, most people are looking towards Mario Odyssey, but I think people are underselling how important Splatoon 2 is to this whole lineup, especially in Japan. That game blew up in Japan like crazy. They have concerts with Callie and Marie. This is a phenomenon there. And to have that the first year, that's going to sell a lot of Switches in Japan. And I have some friends that are picking up a Switch just because Splatoon 2 got announced. So
yeah, that's fair.
It's a system seller, I think. I think the thing that people were really worried about with a Switch version of Splatoon, though, were the controls, because people legitimately loved the motion controls in Splatoon. And I'm right there with them, because that was the most comfortable. It felt so good to have the analog stick to move, look left and right, and then the gyro controls to look everywhere else. And it just felt so natural. And a lot of people were worried that would be missing in the Switch version. And fortunately, the controllers are almost designed with Splatoon in mind, really, because they do have the gyro controls just naturally built in.
Yeah, it's very nice. I'm happy that the default control scheme that you get with the system has that built in. I was also worried about super jumping, the fact that it's not going to be two screens simultaneously, so you can't, have a gamepad with the controller or anything like that you're going to be missing on a super jumping, though. But their solution for how they would fix that I thought was very good, because already you do have to take a second to look down anyway, though, so taking a second to bring up the map, I don't think anything in translation's really being lost. The way that it's being displayed, how you use the directions on the D-pad to decide where you want to jump. I think also this way, a lot of people will actually realize, oh, right, I can super jump to the spawn point. Because I notice a lot of people not doing that in situations that make sense, and I think it's people not realizing, oh, I can tap on that icon and it actually means something.
Yeah, it took me forever to realize I could actually do that, and I still don't have it built into me because I just don't think about it.
I don't have it built into me because I'm too aggressive.
You just want to get out there and kill.
Yeah, that's me.
I just mean, if you're in the enemy base and the tower is starting to get into your base, it makes a lot of sense to do, and yeah.
Oh, if we're talking tower control, and in that situation, you're pretty much boned anyway.
Well, I mean, it is tower control, let's be honest.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Well, we've only seen Turf Wars so far. Do you think all the old modes will return, or do you think they'll be tweaked in some way like a lot of this other stuff we've seen so far?
I think that just because so many things have been changed around this time, like the fact that we don't have any returning special weapons, for instance. I don't know if that's a topic you want to go into, though, so I'll just leave it at that. I don't know, just with how different everything is turning out to be, where every weapon class seems to have some new toy to play around with, or some new mechanic or gimmick, or there's just new weapon classes in general. I think it is entirely plausible that we could see, none of the previous ranked battles returning, or maybe even just splat zones and have the other two get changed around a lot.
I'm kind of wondering if they'll bring them back, but introduce new modes as well, because if they already have the concepts down, and if they're very favored upon a lot of the people in the community, then, it might make people mad if they don't have their tower control.
It would be kind of, what would be kind of cool is if you could actually play, tower control and splat zones for fun.
Yes.
I would love that.
Just to kind of get good at it, practice it, and before you want to start putting your rank on the line, you can actually, do that. I know that you have private games, though, but not everybody can get 8-player private games going. It takes a lot of coordination.
Yeah, that's really hard.
So I'm hoping that the barriers between ranked and turf wars kind of go away, and it's that you can play modes for fun or for glory.
That'd be nice. I think that'd be an excellent change, because once I started getting higher ranks and they had these new maps, and I stepped away for a bit, I was kind of afraid to go into ranked battles because I don't want to lose my rank. It actually took me a while to get this B+, and every time I get close to getting an A, I get knocked down. So I don't want to lose it. I really hope that change is definitely going to be placed. But you did mention how we have all new specials this time around. There are no returning specials at all, which I think we can safely say is because it is on the Switch and not the Wii U, and stuff like Ink Strike wouldn't maybe work, but again, you can actually point the Switch controller, the Tentamissiles do kind of replace it, and you can lock onto different Inklings on the other side to target them. But again, we can bring up the map and we can use the controller to do a little pointer as well. So it's it wouldn't be that difficult to have an ink strike like special as well, and not just use the solution that the Tenta missiles did.
I'm not sure that I would like bringing up a map screen on the TV and having to like aim with an analog stick and press A. I feel like tapping on a touchscreen, you could get a lot more like where you meant to actually go, and it might even be a bit disorienting. I know that a staple of the ink strike was that you were left open when using it, though. But I like the approach the Tenta missiles took, how they're homing missiles that anything in the circle, just from your point of view, like, will get targeted by them. Some other ones, though, like, even though they do say all new specials on the surface, a lot of them are very similar to old ones. Like the Stingray is basically just a rebalanced killer whale where it doesn't have limitless range. The grenade launcher is basically the new bomb rush. Even like the jetpack works a lot like the Inkzuka, just that you can fly now.
Here, a big hit me target.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to like have a jetpack and just everybody shooting upward, trying to take them down.
Yeah, so a lot of them are similar. So like you do have your bomb rush, you do have your ink strike, you do have your Inkzuka. It'll just be kind of interesting to see. Like, I do have to wonder if maybe we'll get like a curling bomb rush or something crazy like that, though, because I think we have 6 specials confirmed when there were 7 in the original Splatoon, so we're almost up to the same number already, and we could have realistically seen them all at this point, knowing that, though, but it'd be interesting to see what else they do.
I wouldn't think that they'd show all of them in, like, the first trailer, though.
Maybe, like, a few more, but yeah. What I want to see, though, big one, is I want another weapon like the Carbon Roller Deco that has a unique, like, tertiary weapon that nothing else does. How it was the only Seeker Rush in the whole game.
That would be interesting. Maybe that's how you get the get the curling rush now.
It has the curling rush now. I mean, I think the curling bombs are outright a replacement for the Seekers at this point. I wouldn't see any reason to have them both in there if they're basically just Seekers, except they bank off of stuff.
Yeah, I do really like the curling bombs though. Like just seeing like
you say this now.
Oh yeah, but just seeing them like in action, it's like, oh my god, that is so clever. Just to take like the idea of a curling stone, put ink underneath it, and bounce off the other things. Maybe you can like bank off a wall and try to hit an enemy behind cover. Like that's so cool.
That is a really cool idea.
Maybe if there's curling bombs and this takes place like a good distance away from Inkopolis, this is on the ruins of Canada instead of the ruins of America.
There you go.
Nice.
The one special we didn't bring up was, I'm blanking on its name at the moment, but the one where you pound the ground to create a dome of ink around you.
I am so excited about that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Just having that a way to like safely get into fights is awesome.
Yeah,
It's
like
so cool.
that feels so different compared to everything else that we've seen in specials so far, because pretty much every single special has something to do with a bomb or a weapon or some sort of super laser of death, etc. But this one is more like you yourself become the weapon in a way, and it just that concept alone makes it really appealing to me.
It's super cool, and I've thought for a while, like I didn't use Super Jump that often because every time I used it, I swear to God, I got inked by somebody that by another team.
Yeah.
And it was so frustrating. It was like, you know what? I'll just ink stuff on the way back to where I was. Screw it. And so having this special is actually going to encourage me to maybe use Super Jump a little bit more often. It's nice. It's
a wonderful counter to just rollers like camping where they see you're going to Super Jump to and have a flick ready to go so you can't do anything. Yeah, it's really smart. And there's a lot of smart changes in this game. I'm like, just the idea of having the squid icons at the top show each player's weapon, so you have a constant reminder of who's in the game, who's out of the game.
I feel like they learned a lot from the first Splatoon. Like, they're like you said, there's a lot of little changes that just make things so much easier that I wouldn't have thought of otherwise. Like the squids at the top are a big example where it's like, if I think about it specifically, yeah, that would be something that I would really love to have in the first Splatoon game, but it's not something that I inherently think about all too much. Mm-hmm. It just never crossed your mind that you would need it. It's like, oh, okay, there's guys gone, but whatever, I don't need to worry about that. But now you can actually keep track, and it's really just a nice change. Yeah, exactly. It also makes like playing with randoms a lot better though, because one of the advantages to playing with voice chat was saying like, okay, the sniper is down, okay, the roller is down, things like that, so people would know like when they could advance, when they could rush things. True. But it does make it a lot easier to play with randoms if you don't have voice chat. Can I just say that this makes recon pretty much obsolete? Rip. Rest in peace, Recon.
That's probably an ability that's not even coming back at all. I could see some other ones not coming back, though, but, like, I remember that they tried to make some abilities better as the first game went on. Like, in ranked battles, last-ditch effort, they made it so that if the game goes into overtime, it still works, and it also activates at 30 points from your enemy achieving their objective instead of 30 seconds on the timer. So they tried to make some abilities more useful. I think Recon had showing you the weapons, but, yeah, like, nothing. Like, there's no reason to use it anymore. It shouldn't even be there.
Probably won't be. Well, let's talk about the new weapons, or how some of the weapons have been changed. We only saw 4, and we got this typical splatter shot, but instead of the splatter shot junior, the demo contained the splat dualies, which
Oh my god.
are like basically twin Uzis that you can use a dodge roll with, and I love the mobility of these things.
I've looked at an analysis of the splat dualies, like, from competitive players, and they have roughly the same range and damage of the Splatter Shot Junior, which is really interesting. So it might just straight up be that. There's also the fact that with 2 reticles on the screen, you can left side peek in addition to right side peeking. In the first game, all weapons were right-handed, so peeking around corners that would expose less of your character was a thing you always had to keep in mind. You know, attacking from around a right side corner would give you an advantage over a left side corner, because logically your opponent would have to, be facing you to do the same, and it'd be harder for them to aim at you and harder for them to cover themselves up. But with splat dualies, you don't have to worry about that. You can just peek around any corner, shoot, and go away.
I really like that idea, but at the same time, like, yes, it's an inherent advantage to that specific weapon, but if the range and the damage is similar to the Splattershot Junior, I'm not sure how useful that'll actually be in the long run. Like, if someone's right in your face, then yeah, sure, or if they don't notice you, but other than that, it's like, you're going to be like, pew-pew, right onto the ground and being like, why can't I reach you?
If Port Mackerel comes back, that'd be a great map for it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Specific maps it'll definitely be more useful on, but in general, like, your range probably isn't going to be that accommodating for left side peeking, or peeking at all.
I mean, maybe that's why they have that special ability where after you dodge roll, your reticle becomes 1, and you can have a much more focused attack. So you can, like,
That's
somebody's
true.
coming at you or getting close, or you can roll towards them to try to bridge that gap, and then just unleash the ink on them with that focused shot. So I like the possible strategies in place for the dualies.
Same. I'm like a sucker for anything dual wielding, so
You're always the dual swords class and everything. In Xenoblade Chronicles X, you went Full Metal Jaguar, even though you already had Elma.
it's so cool. I love it. Even though it's realistically impractical, it's just really, really cool.
Well, I mean, if the power of one sword is 100, shouldn't the power of 2 swords be 200?
Really? Are you really referencing that?
Of course I am.
Wow, good job, Emil.
If you get the reference, you should check out her videos, because she likes the game if you do too, you know?
Yeah.
Is it a shameless plug if I'm not doing it?
Of course not, no.
You're fine. Well, we already talked about the Splat Roller and how it has that new vertical swing, which is basically the biggest change that I can see from it. But in addition, we have the Splat Charger and being able to store your charge. I think that might make the weapon a little bit more viable for some people. Honestly, for me, though, I'm not a fan of the Splat Charger. I just could not make them work for me. I don't think this is going to change my opinion on them too much, but they are pretty deadly against other players, I will say that.
I think it's just that mobility in the game is so important that this was their way of answering that. Plus, a lot of new players, I went on a rant about this in one of my Splatoon videos, was that a lot of new players are instantly turned off from playing chargers because they unlock a charger at a lower level, and because leveling up in your first 10 levels is based or first 20 levels is based entirely on turf inked, a lot of people feel like it's frustrating to get used to a charger weapon, that it takes a lot more practice and has a steeper learning curve, and in the end they're just leveling up slower and getting less stuff from their troubles, plus their equipment also levels up slower. Mm-hmm. And then a new player might unlock the arrow spray not long after that, and they'll just end up maining the arrow spray because they get far more experience towards a level up from playing it, and they oftentimes will limit themselves where they won't try playing any other weapon, though, because why would I? I level up the fastest with this thing, and it's also what I'm best with because I leveled up with it all this time. It's what they're most practiced with. It might have just been their way of making the charger more attractive in a different way so that people would actually want to try it out at low levels now.
That's a good idea
true.
because that's exactly what happened to me. I tried each of the weapons going through, but then I got that arrow spray, and I'm like, ooh, this is really working for me, so I'm going to stick with this.
I feel like a lot of people just stick with the Aerospray because it feels good, it shoots really fast, it feels very powerful in your hands, and you level up like nuts when you have it.
I feel like the only people who really, really picks up chargers early on are people who play sniper roles in other games, so they're really used to that type of combat and they prefer it. Which at the end of the day, that's a kind of a niche, not extremely broad group of people. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. So it's like you have the people who would already be playing chargers in the first place versus like everyone else who tried it and then just gave it up.
Yeah, there's not a lot of new snipers that come out of Splatoon.
Yeah, exactly.
But the ones that are there are usually really good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some people that use chargers just utterly destroy me. Like, they just know exactly where I am, can predict where I'm going to go, and just take me out. It's impressive.
Oh,
It'll
yeah,
probably
yeah.
be worse in Splatoon 2 with all that mobility.
Yep.
Yeah, if they have added mobility, just ugh.
On top of all of that skill that they have, they're going to be able to run away even better.
Yeah, run away, pop up, unleash their charge, and get going.
Just
Yep.
being able to predict movement, being able to move into position so quickly. Like, one thing that I've always said is that in a lot of cases, the echolocator wearing off is more important than using the echolocator, because once people aren't tagged anymore, they're just going to move like they normally do, and if you knew where they were when they were going to start moving, you can reliably predict where they're going to go, and if you can get into position and swim all around and stuff like that and then unleash your charge, it's just going to be so much easier to do that.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
totally. The other thing we're introduced to is we got a bunch of new levels. We have, of course, the main demo level, which is the Reef, and it looks fine to me. It looks like a pretty standard level so far, nice and open. Have that bridge to sort of hide from other players, and also aerial attacks.
It reminds me of a cross between Flounder Heights and Walleye Warehouse.
You're not wrong. It looks fine. It looks like a fun level. I unfortunately did not get to play it myself yet. That was Ash and Andre, but what I saw...
Aww.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though, because the geography of the map, it's the only time ever that there's been a stationary overhang of terrain. You had, like, moving ones, like in Museum d'Alfonsino. You had the crane in the crane wasn't inkable though, but it's the first time that you have stationary inkable turf above other stationary inkable turf, so you gotta wonder if that's going to be counted in turf war results or whatnot.
That's a good question. Didn't really think about that. The rest of the Reef, there is nothing too major to point out, except for like I did like how in the analysis they had those like rubber protectors over the tree bark. Like, I don't know why.
That's really cute.
Yeah, I just like that little touch. And then they got those strange like boutique advertisements where you got the Inklings in different outfits and like different fashions. I'm like, I wonder how many different clothes we'll be able to really experience within the game.
I'm right there with you. I was one of the people that got more excited for new clothes over new weapons.
Okay, if I can say though, I'm a little disappointed that it seems like pants aren't their own slot.
Yeah.
That makes me a little bit sad.
It really does seem like, at least from what I can tell, it looks like the same three, like the shirts, the hats, and the shoes are going to give you your stats, while gloves and pants are probably just entirely cosmetic, or hopefully not this case, tied to other pieces of clothing.
I don't want them to be tied to other pieces of clothing. What I am hoping for, however, is that clothing in general, that you'll be able to like dye it. I don't see like why you shouldn't be able to do that if you want to make your clothing look a certain way. Especially when they have multiple colors of existing items already in the first game. That's what I want to see.
Mm-hmm. I could also see people really enjoying, as far as the clothes, a way to... It's sort of like Xenoblade Chronicles X, where you have your equipment, but then you also have these clothes that you can... that you want to look, so you have an actual style and not just a random assortment thrown together.
I don't know how much I'd like that, though, because one of the things, having played the original so much, I got to the point where I could just look at what my opponent was wearing, and I could know, like, okay, they don't have ink resist up, so obviously I want to throw a burst bomb at them so they can't move and then just shoot them.
Yeah.
That's a
So
good point.
I'd get to the point where I could do things like that, and I feel like if you were to have fashion gear like in Xenoblade, it might take away some of the strategy of the game.
That is a good point. I did
That's
not
true.
think of that.
One thing I definitely don't want is I want hair to be purely cosmetic. If there's a hairstyle that grants swim speed up, everyone is going to run that hairstyle. And you know it's going to be the most hideous hairstyle in the game. Like, it just is how it is in video games. Like, if there's, like, a factually best hairstyle that gives you the best ability in the game, it's going to look hideous. Like, just no other way about it.
That's always the case. I don't understand why. I do like how they've changed up how Inklings can have different hair, because I'll be honest, that's the entire reason I chose a female Inkling the first time around. I like the hairstyle
Same.
of her
Yeah,
much more than the
Character
guy.
design's just so much better.
Exactly. So being able to change that up and see that, although who knows, I'll probably still end up picking the girl because they got a
Her
hipster.
voice clips are cute.
Yeah, the clips are good. They have a wavy version for the girl, and the boys get a hipster look. I'm like, ugh.
I like the spiky hair on the boy with, like, all the individual tentacles. That one's nice. I'm hoping that, like, in Animal Crossing, stuff is not gender locked. That if you want to wear a dress, like, go right ahead. You kind of saw that a little bit in the first game with the Squid Girl poncho, how a boy or a girl can wear that. But I'm hoping that stuff isn't gender locked. That if you want a girl's hairstyle, you should be allowed to have it, just in the name of character customization and expressing, like, just whatever look you want.
I can see that being the case, if only because they've shown that the Inklings are gender fluid in anyway, because you can change between a boy and a girl at any time you want. You're not locked into one or the other. So I can see them being like, hey, yeah, wear whatever you want. Go for it.
That just made me realize that a lot of marine life has the ability to undergo, like, natural sex changes, and, like, who's to say that's not what Inklings are capable of too, because you can change that at any moment.
I can totally see that. I would not be shocked.
I mean, that's convenient.
I mean, yeah, it really is, you know? Like, a lot of marine life can do that, and it's like, in my mind, I always just thought I was switching to a girl character, though, but I'm just like, you know what? No, the game treats me as if I'm the same person and nothing has changed. So, and I'm marine life, so maybe I am actually able to, like, sex change just on the fly like a lot of marine life can.
I would totally buy that because there's just so much, like, marine stuff in the game. Like, in the first game, just making it work, or all the puns or whatever else. I could totally see it.
Dude, what if Mo, the clownfish, what if he's a girl in Splatoon 2 because of that?
That would be amazing.
That'd be really funny.
Oh, that'd be great.
It's not like clownfish can actually do that, though.
Clownfish do change gender, actually. Like, if
Wait, what?
Clownfish, if the population of males to females goes out of whack, like, for instance, if a clownfish's partner dies and the partner was female and it causes there to be significantly less females than males, they can actually change gender to rectify this to keep the species propagating.
You're lying.
Nope, that's true.
Yeah, that's actually
What?
a thing.
I've seen that. I've seen that in relation to Finding Nemo. People talking about, you're like, you know, one of them would probably end up turning female in
Because of
actual
coral,
life.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, clownfish can actually change their genders just on the fly. Oh, not on the fly, though, but, like, they can undergo a natural process that's, like, built into them where they change gender to keep the species in line, and so it's not out of whack where there's, like, significantly more in a community than the other.
I never knew that. Biology, you have failed me.
Yeah, that's an actual scientific thing that marine life can do, so, like, it would make sense in the context of Splatoon that Inklings are completely gender fluid.
You see, you learn things here.
I'm like, I feel like my entire biology studies have just been a lie.
Like, when I met you, you were a biology major, too.
Yeah, I used to be.
Yeah.
And then it got too hard.
You stopped right before they gave that lesson.
Exactly. That's why I didn't know.
Yeah, that explains a lot. Well, we saw a bunch of other levels too. We didn't get names for them or anything, but we got a gym level, we got a concert level, and we got the return of Moray Towers.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about Moray Towers first because when we did that episode together, part of your Let's Play, Emil, you talked about how you didn't like that stage. I talked about how I love that stage, and I love the fact that one of the things I wanted to see be implemented into the multiplayer so much were those ink rails, and to see them actually be in multiplayer.
Oh my God.
I was so excited. It's like yes, because there's so many cool single player elements that should be in the multiplayer.
I get my ink rails. The thing that I was asking for the most. And it's on Moray Towers.
I'm sure there'll be other stages with it.
Okay. I hope that's not like the stage gimmick, though, because Moray Towers' original stage gimmick was just that it was tall. So this might be the way that they're making it set itself apart more. I don't know, but...
I mean, we didn't see the edges, the sides, so I can't say if there's going to be more ink rails along on the way down the towers, or if it's just concentrated in the center. As of right now, it looks more concentrated around the center, with the ink rails providing more options to getting around those lower levels. As best I can tell, as so far. But I love that moment in the middle of the trailer where it's just like jumping out of the ink rails and having like an aerial battle with somebody else.
Yeah. That was one thing that I really wish they had in the first game, is those ink rails in multiplayer. That's one thing that I've always wanted, but it's like, I guess maybe the Wii U wasn't powerful enough to support it or something, because they had it in the game, obviously, but maybe it had some complications when it got up to like 8 players.
Maybe they couldn't handle multiple inklings in the same rail?
Yeah.
I was just thinking complications that there's the possibility of just what happens if somebody changes the color of the ink rail while you're in it. That was like the biggest logistical thing that I was thinking would maybe not make it a fair mechanic, especially if they were going to travel over bottomless pits.
Yeah, that's true. See, my thought on that was if they change the ink color while you're still in it, that's just an instant splat. So that's the risk of actually taking the rails.
So you have to like make sure there's nobody nearby that could change the color when you take it.
That's totally possible. Or maybe only certain colors can activate certain ones, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I have a feeling it's going to be just instant splat.
I wonder if it's going to be instant, though. Like, maybe it'll be more of a slow creeping to the other side, because it doesn't necessarily have to work the same way it did in Octo Valley in the first game.
That is true.
Because I feel like if you just shot it and it immediately changed color, that would end up being really frustrating, more frustrating than it would be fun.
I actually really like that idea.
Yeah, maybe you could see it coming while you're still in the ink rail, and you have that couple of seconds to get out of there.
If it comes at roughly the same speed that you can swim at, then that'd be good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to get to this, get away from this bottomless pit into that thing, but they changed the color on me. Run.
Yeah, that would also add a lot of dynamics too, in that, do you want to take the risk of jumping onto a rail that's slowly changing color, or do you want to just forego it and be like, nope, not worth that jump?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I want to see more, but this also raises the question, of course, that Moray Towers is a returning level. Do you think we're only going to get a few select levels returning with remixes like Moray Towers, or do you think they're actually going to try to implement just all the previous levels as well?
I don't know if all of them. I definitely wouldn't miss Bluefin Depot if it was gone, but
yeah.
I think a lot of stages are too good to throw away.
I like most of the stages, like Port Mackerel, Bluefin Depot. Those are two that stand out as me not enjoying them as much, but most of the others are legitimately fun.
You are the worst kind of person.
I know.
At least he admits it. Anyway, yeah, sorry.
I don't know. I feel like that would be a lot of stages to bring back into a second game. Like, they could use it as padding, or maybe they could even release packs later down the line that bring back nostalgia stages. I could see them doing that. But I'm not sure if they'll bring back all of the stages from the first game.
I guess that is the question, because it's either going to be they'll bring them back later on down the line, because they have already announced that there's going to be the same free updates that the original saw, But that makes people a little worried that maybe it'll have the same amount of starting content that the original Splatoon had as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
It's a question of, do they have these old stages in there as well to help sort of bolster the new ones and make sure there's a lot of content? Or do you have all new ones and just slowly introduce the old ones as well as a couple new ones as well?
Okay, going into that, if they do something along those lines and with them introducing so many new maps and inevitably like add even more, I would really like to not have a 2-map rotation
Yeah.
per 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like I feel like with the introduction of new maps and new places to go and like undoubtedly a really large number of them, I would really hate to just have that one map that you would never get to play because there's only a 2-map rotation. Like, if there's one thing that I really hope they change up, it's how they handle that. That's something that I've been really lamenting through the entirety of Splatoon 1's lifespan, is just that they have only 2 maps. If they added that third one from Splatfest, it would have been a little bit more bearable. But like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's the fact that when the game was new, I think a 2-map rotation was fine because there was only
Yeah,
5
it made
maps in the
sense
game.
then.
And I think by the time ranked battles came out, there were only 6 or 7 in the game, though. So having 2 rotations of 2 was definitely fine because roughly half of the maps were in the rotation at any moment, though. But by the time the game had been out for a while, I think we got up to like 14 maps, 15, something like that. And
Exactly.
it just got to be too many to the point where if the game's capable of doing a 3-map rotation, why not have it if you have that many maps?
Yeah, it needs to happen. I have a feeling they're going to change it up in some way, but I'm not exactly sure how. But it's
That's
definitely
the
a big
big
change.
thing that I'm sweating right now.
The other thing that I like is that I think it makes the game a lot more even, and it makes people a lot more willing to pick their favorites rather than just pick what will win. Because in a 2-map rotation, it's pretty easy to find a weapon that's good at both of them, but in a 3-map rotation, pretty much no matter what it is, it's hard. Because if you have Moray Towers and Bluefin Depot, obvious choice is an E-Leader. But let's say that the third map is Kelp Dome, not so obvious anymore.
That's true. I don't know. It's just that was a huge thing of frustration for me. It's just why would you not have it? We've already seen the game capable of doing that and programmed to do that in Splatfest. So when the threshold of maps exceeded like 8, why not just give us that one more map? That would be really great.
It would, but I would guess Splatfest wouldn't be as special. I don't know.
But they stopped doing Splatfest after a while.
That is true. I really don't know, but I really hope they come up with a good solution. That's because it's probably one of the biggest flaws that they need to fix. It made sense at first, as you guys said, but it by the end we needed something new, and I think they are going to have more maps to start with this time around. So we need something new. Well, speaking of the maps, actually, going back, which do you guys prefer between the outdoor concert and the gym that we saw?
I think as a concept, I think a concert is a cooler idea, and it would be kind of nice having like a thing like that after Splatfest is over, though. But I don't think I've really seen like enough of either to like really make a good call, because the Reef is the one that they keep featuring in all the promotional material.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't see that much of either. You get a sense of them. I mean, it's a gym, it's at a concert, and the concert, I do like it that in the concert you can get up on stage and ink all the instruments, and there's catwalks all around. Like, you're going around this entire concert arena. It's not just the stands or whatever. So, and it definitely fits in with the Splatoon ideas, because concerts are a big thing with Splatoon.
It's also an area that actually makes sense for it to be symmetrical.
Exactly. So I'm very curious what they'll do with that. I have a hard time wrapping my head around exactly what the gym is going to be like, because there's a pool in here. I just have no idea if we can actually access that pool.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, and on one hand, I think the pool might not be terribly important, because when I saw the footage, it looked like it was out of the way. Like, maybe it'll be similar to Dolphonsino, where there's water in the stage, yes, but it's more off to the sides and not something you are actively thinking about while you're playing the map.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel as well. I saw the warning signs and all that stuff, but I was trying to figure it out, but I couldn't come up with a definite answer. But I do suspect that it is outside the arena. Although I will say for the gym, I love the climbing wall all around and the jellyfish actually using it.
That's really cute. It reminds me of Piranha Pit, how you have the jellyfish like on the power lines.
Yes.
Jellyfish are the best. How they just do like little things in the background.
The jellyfish are my favorite.
They just add character to the levels. You can actually see them interacting. It's like, oh, those damn squid kids are doing this again.
It makes it feel more alive.
And then just Jalonzo not knowing English very well.
Are they buying?
You want the buying? Oh, you are already owning that body cloth. No equipping body cloth during Festival of the Splat.
I'm amazed that you know those so well.
I'm not.
I had to memorize a lot of this stuff.
It's Emil, of course he knows it.
That's true enough.
Yeah. Well, actually, we do have a new central hub. It's no longer the Inkopolis Plaza. Now we have the Inkopolis Square. And a brand new tower-like structure where we access the multiplayer. And brand new shops along either side, which are kind of tricky to identify. I'll say that right now, except for the shoes.
And also credit cards.
Yes, the credit cards. I love that. I love that little touch so much. It's so dumb, but it's just kind of neat. And yeah, what do you guys think of the square?
I really like the paper crane, the gigantic paper crane. That caught my eye. But as a whole, maybe I'm just nostalgia foddering, but I kind of miss the Inkopolis Plaza. Like I feel like that area just felt like the lifeblood of Splatoon for me personally, and it partially had to do with like walking by all the Miiverse posts as well. So the thought that we're not going to have that is a little bit sad.
You said what I was going to say. I'm like, I don't know if the hub world can really feel as alive without Miiverse posts and without artwork going by all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is going to be the weirdest part of this, because it was just so interesting walking by people and having little things being said, or this crazy artwork that looks so good a lot of the time. And, you know, it's even noticeable to not have those Miiverse billboards in the levels themselves. It feels very different not having that. And I would say maybe they'll have a way in-game for people to make their posts like Miiverse. But if they're not having a billboards like that, I'm not so sure. It might just be completely gone, and I'm not sure how they'll give that extra bit of personality anymore.
Yeah, that's really a shame. It's just I feel like that added a lot to the life of Splatoon. Even though a lot of it was stupid. Yes, Miiverse wasn't exactly the most mature of communities a lot of the time.
Nope.
Let's be real. But in the case of when you see something that you really agree with, or you see the excitement around you of people talking about what their thoughts of the games were, what their frustrations were, what their really favored weapons were, or even like the artwork too, it kind of gave a really big sense of community and camaraderie for me. Like, every so often I'll find some random dude standing in the corner, and he'll say, like, "Chargers suck!" And I'll be like, yeah, I like this.
This guy's
no
all right.
offense to Chargers out there. But stop killing me, please.
Meanwhile, I had my stint of accidentally liking somebody saying Moray Towers was good because I wanted to like it just to unlike it, and then you can't do that, and I was so furious. I'm like, no, I can't take it back.
It's like, deep inside of me that was true. Yeah, you can't deny it. You have physical evidence that you like that. No take backsies.
You joined the dark side.
The thing is, I mean, other than the lack of Miiverse, I do like the design of this, although it is very strange how you can't just at a glance know exactly what each of these shops do. The best I can identify is a cafe, which we can access, but that's where you'll find the new urchin character. What I think might be a hair boutique where you can hopefully change up your hairstyle at any time. and then an arcade with a DDR machine outside, and I'm like, are they like bringing back the arcade games? But what are they actually going to do there? Like, what's going on? Like, what do we have in store? And I just don't know.
If they do bring back the arcade games, I'm actually very surprised at that. Like that, if there's anything in Splatoon 2 that I wasn't expecting to come back, it's those little mini games, because we don't really have a gamepad anymore.
There's nothing saying you can't just play them on the TV during that. I'm hoping that 2D side-scrolling game that didn't get used winds up in the game.
I do too, actually. I was
curious
about that when it was first shown off, and then I was like, I saw that arcade, I'm like, I wonder if they'll bring that concept back, because you did say they had budgetary issues, so I could totally see them taking obviously a platformer like that is a lot more complex than the racing game they had, or the dodgeball game they had, or
just probably not the best use of time.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Splatoon was also released 6 months ahead of its deadline. It was intended to be a holiday game that year. Nintendo wanted a game for the summer. Splatoon was in a stable, playable state, so they just had the dev team focus on balancing a few weapons and a few stages, and then just gradually doing the rest, because the game was already stable and playable by the start of that year.
That would make sense.
It is possible that some concepts were cut just so they could make that work.
I could see that happening. It's amazing Splatoon ended up as good as it is based off all that.
Yeah. One thing that I feel like would be really cool to add to the arcade type thing, you know how we have those little mini games and we play it while we're in the loading screens?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it would be a really good touch. I don't know if they would actually do this, or even if it would be feasible, but I feel like it would add a little bit more to the community aspect and the competition aspect if they had leaderboards of sorts. Maybe comparing your scores of those mini games to other people that you're currently playing with.
That'd be cool.
It's not unheard of. During the last Splatfest, they had global leaderboards for whoever had the highest Splatfest ranking by the end.
Well, Splatfest, yes, but that's like a major part of the game. Whereas this is just the little mini games that you play while a loading screen is up.
It would be so 90s, though, to have like an arcade and you're constantly competing with these arcade games in order to get the high score.
Yeah, and Splatoon is very 90s feel. I feel like that would add a lot more reason to play those games, because after a while I stopped playing the arcade games and I just kind of used the bathroom in between matches. Whereas when the game first came out, I was like, oh, these are so cool, I really like these, but there was no real reason to continue playing them past like it's something new and shiny. But if there was a leaderboard and I was constantly if I was constantly seeing other people's scores as I went up against them, heck yes, I'd want to have the highest score in the room. I'd sit there and grind that arcade game all day long.
I could see that, yeah. I'd love to see that. I'd like to see what else they just add to the game, because there's obviously going to be a lot more to see, and we even got a sense of the single player in the trailer. All we saw were the Octarians coming back with some new enemies, some returning enemies, and then that one weird shot of Marie from behind in her kimono. Yeah. It's like, what are they doing here? Because you would think, especially with the popularity of Callie Marie, that they'd be front and center. And there's barely any of it. They're barely in the game, or in the trailer.
One theory that I've heard is that Marie looks like she's in traditional Japanese funeral garb and not a kimono. And it's like the shot looks really somber, like it's a sunset and like the wind's like lightly blowing and she's facing away from the camera. So some people are wondering if Captain Cuttlefish isn't coming back.
Rip.
That would be kind of sad.
I've seen other people saying like, oh my god, the last Splatfest results really meant something. They killed her.
Oh, man, we were playing for keeps. Thank goodness Marie won.
No! Callie, why?
And nobody's gonna miss her.
Nope.
Excuse me?
Come on, you know Callie's not as good as Marie.
Excuse me, I need my ray of sunshine in life. You guys can have your boring old lady.
Is that why you keep me around? Do you need a ray of sunshine in your life?
Why are we friends?
I'm staying out of this one.
Derek.
Yes?
Derek, we're BFFs now, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
I love how
Sorry, Emil.
I love how you went from one Callie hater to another Callie hater.
Crap. No!
Your situation did not
No one
improve.
likes her but you.
No, you're going to get a
bad
bunch of support in the
situation.
comments. I guarantee you that.
Oh yeah.
Comments, I love you!
Got upset, like, dude, there was I was recording once, I think, or not recording though, but like somebody sent me this on Twitter. There was a Miiverse post that got into Inkopolis Plaza that was saying, I really liked Chugga for a while, and then I learned that he's Marie Trash.
Oh!
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Marie Trash. It does seem like a much more somber story. Like, there is no sign of Captain Cuttlefish. There's no sign of any single-player access at all. So, it does seem like, I don't know, at least a more serious story. Even though I know this game's going to be goofy as hell.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be cool if there was like more of it, and if the single player was like more fleshed out though, because there was a lot more potential there than what they ultimately did. And it was also weird of the single player like reuse stage mechanics all the time that weren't terribly interesting though. But like a lot of the ones that were interesting, it only used once.
Like the cubes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'd be curious. Man, that just reminded me, like, we talked about other single-player stuff that might show up in old stages. What if the invisible platforms?
Oh god, invisible platforms.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Dude, that'd be so cool.
That'd be crazy. Just like, okay, we gotta find them, and then we gotta navigate them, and make sure they're our ink, and oh, goodness. That'd be crazy.
I feel like that would be a really frustrating stage in, like, competitive play.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you have to know exactly where everything is.
Well, I mean, it would be randomly generated if they were to do it, because then you'd have to actually shoot and find where stuff is, because if you just had it
God, you
memorized,
have
there
a
wouldn't be
point.
much point.
Oh, well, the point still stands. That would be an incredibly frustrating stage for competitive.
Yeah.
Definitely would.
Absolutely. I gotta say, though, one of my big hopes for single player, and it's kind of odd to say because it's inherently not single player, I think co-op would be really cool. And I think co-op's a lot more feasible now because of new controllers for the Switch.
Oh, that's true.
I don't know if it'd be split screen, but maybe you have the option to, we bring our Switches over and play on the smaller screen, just each having our own full screen. Just on the,
Oh,
the
that'd
pad.
be so cool.
Masay knows all about local multiplayer in the original Splatoon.
Oh my god, I can't believe that control scheme that they expected you to do.
Oh, it's awful.
I mean, it worked well, but it took, like, how long was it? An hour to figure it out?
Yeah, we had to like figure out exactly like what to do and like how to set it up and everything. Plus the controllers kept desyncing in the time it was taking for us to actually do it.
Oh, God. That's awful. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about it this time around. But yeah, I think a co-op mode would be really cool in the single player. And working together or doing something. Because I do feel like the single player is going to be more fleshed out this time around.
True.
Well, any other things we haven't covered about Splatoon 2?
Everything.
Everything. There's still so much.
So much things.
Now, I'm legit excited for this. We don't know the exact release date. There's currently rumors for August, and I hope that's not the case because that seems late. Personally, I feel like a May-June release would be ideal for the game, but I know whenever it's
Yeah,
come
me
out,
too.
it's going to do well. Alright, I think that covers it for our Splatoon 2 discussion, so thank you for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. And Masay, where can they find you at?
Oh, I'm all over the place. I'm on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch. I do all of the gaming things with my hard-to-spell name, MasaeAnela.
So hard.
It's so hard. You'd be surprised at the spellings that I get sometimes.
What are you talking about, Masay?
Masay.
Shush you.
Yeah, shut up, Emily.
Oh!
Whole life. Every restaurant I've ever been to. Emily, your table's ready.
You're the best BFF I've ever had.
Where can they find you at, Emil?
Chuggaaconroy, 2 G's, 2 A's. I can say more than just hard to spell, thankfully. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. No Twitch, however.
Okay.
Shame on you.
That's alright. We barely use our Twitch either, so oh well.
YouTube.
And of course, be sure to subscribe to Game Explained for more on Splatoon and other things gaming as well. Until next time, bye.